Hey, it's me, the burgers that you're cooking up on the grill because it's the 4th of July. Now, I know you gotta wait for the grill to heat up, you gotta wait for the burgers to be done, you gotta pass this time. How could you pass this time? By listening to an episode of this podcast. Before continuing my first ever journey through the Harry Potter series, just a few quick announcements. First, if you live in New York City, we are less than 1 month away from the first tour that kicks off the Pot-Tour-less live show tour. We're coming to a bunch of different cities in the US in August. We start things off in New York City on August 4th. If you want to get tickets to that show or any of the other shows and see if we're coming to a city near you, you can visit potterlesspodcast.com/live. Also, this is the first episode of Potterless in July, meaning that it's donation time. Here at Potterless, each month we take $1 for every member of our team over at patreon.com/Potterless, and we donate it to a different charity. At the time of recording, we have 630 patrons, meaning that we will be donating $630 to Ocean Conservancy, specifically restoring the Gulf of Mexico. I'm sure that if you were on the internet in the past couple days, you saw that the ocean was on fire thanks to an oil and gas pipeline burst/fire in the middle of the ocean. I can't believe I'm saying the ocean was on fire, but the ocean was on fire. This is awful. I want to do anything that I can to help, and I think giving to this charity is a great way to start. From using technology like seafloor mapping, to having dedicated marine mammal rehabilitation crews, to speaking to policy leaders, Ocean Conservancy is doing a lot of different things to not only restore the Gulf, but to ensure its continued resiliency in the face of future threats and disasters like the one that happened a couple days ago. So if you want to learn more about what they are doing, you can go to oceanconservancy.org and check them out. And speaking of that Patreon team, we have new members of our team over at patreon.com/Potterless who are supporting the show and getting bonus content in exchange for doing so. So shout out to Kevin Decker and Dusty Hammond for supporting the show. And of course, a huge shout out to our producer level patrons: Vicky, Christine, Aaron, Clow, Marchismo, Juan, Rosemarie, Maria, Lisa, Audra, Eleanor, Nikita, Rachel, Alex, John, Noel, Claire, Rory, Veronica, Lotta, Noah, Jennifer, Justin, Jacob, Maya, Polly, Zena, Harlan, Nikki, Kine, Sarah, Marta, Floor, Skyla, Adele, Professor Threat, Ellie, Michael, Kelly, Kerry, Connie, Jen, Nedry, Will, Marike, Ashton, Brittany, Phelan, the Meadows family, Ginny, Heather, Kevin, Jarl, Peta, Callahan, Bella, Melanie, Rees, Joseph, Madison, Tonks, Sabrina, Sophia, Farzan, Melanie, Matt, Okamahime, Bony Pony, Kelsey, Rike, Taylor, Megan, Riley, Laurel, Erica, Kendra, Natanya, Yogan, Darcy, Sandra, Craig, Demi, Michelle, Henrique, Casey, Megan, Jack, Stain, Little, Ilaria, Gregory, Caw, Ribbon, Jack, Serenity, Haley, Sabrina, Jenny, Eileen, Annette, Hufflepuff, Brett, Mary, Artemis, Samantha, Nina, Tatiana, Karis, Vomit Spiders, Punkfish, Wire Warrior, Joe, Michael, Maya, Jasmine, Neely, Tate, Sam, Adriana, John, Jody, Dunna, Nosh, Emma, Il, Sean, Greg, Matthew, Ping, Vanacek, Nani, Emma, Toff, Steamed Nuggets, and Can't I Potter, who never have a really easy overhead shot in tennis and think, oh man, I'm gonna jump in the air and smash this and look really, really cool, and then they just hit it directly into the net and then they lose the point. If you want to be like one of these amazing patrons and get access to monthly live streams, bonus episodes, exclusive merchandise, discounts on the merch store, you can head on over to patreon.com/Potterless. But without further ado, let's get into episode 183 of Potterless, kickstarting our coverage of the second LEGO Harry Potter game, years 5 through 7, guest starring Micah Tannenbaum from MuggleCast. Hello, Internet, and welcome back to another episode of Potterless, the tale of a grown man who never read the Harry Potter series as a kid. He read them as an adult. He did not play Harry Potter video games as a kid, but now he did as an adult as well, and he is talking about them. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm that grown man, and I'm here joined today by another host of MuggleCast. It's Micah Tannenbaum. Micah, how's it going?
Good, Mike. How are you?
I am doing well.
It's great to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. I'm glad we were able to do the original 1-2 punch that you, Eric, and I had all discussed 5,000 years ago at Podcast Movement in Florida. So it's nice. We did a 1-2 punch with the Fantastic Beasts stuff, but now we get to do the true thing with the LEGO games, which we enjoy. Eric obviously made his love for the series known and loved, but how passionate / how much do you enjoy these games? What is your experience with them aside from prepping for this episode?
Yeah, so I'm sure Eric did a lot of talking as it relates to these video games because
yeah.
I know he loves them dearly. And actually played years 1 through 4 with him. Must have been a couple of years ago back when I was visiting him in Chicago. But same as him, I really think that these are, at least currently, the best Harry Potter video games that are out there just because it's amazing how much detail is in these games. And, you know, they follow the storyline of the films, but the amount of detail from the books is just unbelievable. And you could tell that these games were made by Harry Potter fans.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something you want to see. And I think it really comes through in the game. And I really enjoyed playing the years 5 through 7 game as well. That's what we'll be talking about in this episode. As far as the differences between years 1 through 4 to years 5 through 7, from a gameplay perspective, it's pretty much the same. The graphics are obviously better. The cutscenes look a little bit nicer, especially in my PS4 remastered edition that I was playing it on. The depth of field is really nice. There's some soft focus in the cutscenes. They look really pretty. And then I just felt like playing the two games pretty much back to back. I just felt like things were a lot smoother in years 5 through 7. Just, it was easier to do the spells using circle instead of square. Like square, you just kind of shoot off a spell. Circle is usually if you're trying to do a particular action, like you're trying to mold bricks on the ground into a thing, etc. I found those commands to go a lot more smoothly, where playing the first game, I found myself doing a lot of, no, I want to do this. No, I want to do this. No, I want to do this. Whereas in this second game, I felt like I spent less time retrying to do the same thing over and over again. And it just made for a more enjoyable, smoother gameplay experience for me.
I would agree. And I was actually reading an article on 5 through 7, and we sat down MuggleCast years and years ago with the game director for Lego Harry Potter, Arthur Parsons, and he was talking about how 5 through 7 is actually bigger than 1 through 4 because of the split for Deathly Hallows, and also not spending as much time at Hogwarts as you would normally do during the first 4 years.
That makes sense. You got to make more levels. Yeah.
Also more challenging for them. But again, it's just the attention to detail, the fact that this game was developed by Potter fans for Potter fans. Yeah, I mean, there's so many great things about it. I love that you need certain characters in order to progress through various levels, all the little Easter eggs along the way. I think about things like Slughorn can turn into an armchair, and there's no real purpose for it, just other than the fact that he can turn into an armchair. If you leave Tonks idle for long enough, her hair changes color in the background because she gets frustrated. So it's all those little things, the careful attention that was provided, that makes this game just so fun to play.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think we should just get right into it and start talking about how the game feels going from years 5 through 7. So for the cutscenes with year 5, it begins with Harry reading the newspaper with Cedric's death. And the way that they signify Cedric's death on the newspaper is just all of his assorted Lego pieces kind of jumbled in the Triwizard Cup. His head is separated from his torso, from his legs, just in the cup. And you get the classic Dudley and his friends bullying Harry in the playground scene. And the clothing representation is very accurate. They make it look just like the obnoxious mid-2000s clothes that they had in the movie, which is so fun.
Yeah, and that's the way that Lego does things, right? You're taking a very serious moment in what happened at the end of Goblet of Fire and in Cedric being killed, and they basically just, as you said, split him into a bunch of pieces and throw him in the Triwizard Cup, and that's how they signify that. And if you're a kid, I think you probably appreciate that.
Yeah, and even as an adult, I do too. It is nice to see the way that they approach some of the more serious things that happen in a silly way where you don't have to see some of this stuff, and we'll get into it later, but I do think they do a great job. So later on, of course, you have Harry and Dudley running away from the Dementors. And then when you get the frazzled Dudley, it is great because just something about when a tongue is sticking out on a Lego head in these games, because it has to go into 3D past the plane of the cylindrical face, like breaks the cylindrical wall, which is always really fun. And I did notice, and this happens a couple of times, and I'm confused about why it happened, Vernon Dursley looks completely different. He looks like a much older man, and I don't know if they did this to address the actors looking different, or if they did it. I know Eric last time talked a lot about making the Lego pieces look exactly like the Lego sets. Maybe in between the first and second games coming out, there was a Lego set made for a character that hadn't been made before, so they changed it accordingly. There were a few characters that didn't look exactly the same, and Vernon was the first example of that I noticed.
Yeah, I've often wondered that too, because you don't really see size play much of a role in Lego Harry Potter either, and we all know Vernon is a larger individual, maybe not Hagrid size, but that was one other thing that jumped out at me too, is that he trimmed down. I don't know, maybe he went on a diet prior to the Lego games being created.
He knew they were filming for the game cutscenes, so he, really stuck to the good diet, didn't have as much bacon. Yeah. He, started running around Privet Drive, etc. Good for Vernon.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Harry has the first of many Voldemort dream scar pain sequences. And I really appreciate that the Lego version of this, it looks pretty different, but you do still have Voldemort in a suit for no good reason, which was always one of my favorite parts of the movie adaptation. It was just so silly. So the fact that they kept that made me very happy. Little Lego suit Voldemort, super cute.
Yeah, just kind of how he pops up at the train station there. And like I said, you're going to get a lot of these moments where you, as a Potter fan, really do appreciate the amount of care that went into it, right? They seem to know just the right things to pick.
Totally. And I don't know if this was a playable character because I didn't fully complete this second game, but if Voldemort in a suit isn't the most expensive character in this game, I will be very upset because that's clearly the best piece.
I'm trying to remember now if you can play as him in the suit. You definitely can unlock Voldemort as one of the 200 characters, which is also just, I don't know how you would ever find the time to sit down and play as all of them.
So many.
But the fact that they are available to you is great. But that's a great question, actually. I'm going to have to go back and see if I can find that out.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, it's me, Editing Mike, with some somber news. Unfortunately, Suit Voldemort is not a playable character in Harry Potter Years 5 through 7. I think that we should just take a moment of silence for this huge missed opportunity and oversight by the Lego Harry Potter game makers. Thank you for your reverence, and let's return to the podcast. So the Order comes to save Harry, and Lego Kingsley Shacklebolt looks absolutely fantastic. And he is, when you get to play as Lego Kingsley Shacklebolt, he is very powerful. The spell capabilities of the Order of the Phoenix versus Harry is really fun early in the game because in the first level, basically as Harry, you can just kind of shoot out vague spells that just make little pops. Whereas when you shoot from one of the orders, it makes a full-on explosion. So that is really nice to really set the stage of, no, the Order of the Phoenix really knows what they're doing.
Yeah, they're powerful.
Truly. So they come to save you. You fly away on brooms, and something that's different from the story, but I think is nice for a game level perspective, is Tonks's broom goes all wonky and you crash, and then everyone falls into some sort of park, and you have a level with Kingsley and Harry where you have to save all of the different Order members. Someone's stuck in a fountain, someone is stuck in a tree. It's a very, very silly level, but a great way to start.
Definitely. And it reminded me of like the old comics where, you know, something would happen in Batman and you get sort of those different icons popping up as they fall to the ground because Tonks's broom is kind of going wonky and they all do fall to the ground. But yeah, now that you said that, I remember that level just playing outside of Grimmauld Place and going in and trying to rescue all of them. And it's just, it's like I said, it's the creativity around it.
Right.
And then with the opening of Grimmauld Place itself, one of the things I really enjoyed was how the separation of those houses and then the bricks and everything just coming together as if they were Lego pieces.
Yeah, it's really smart. And it's something, once they start doing it in the cutscene, I realized, oh, of course they would do this, but I was still surprised that they did it. And yeah, it looks really cool. All the bricks separating like they're individual Legos is fantastic. So Harry opens the door to the Order meeting, the scene where they are arguing very loudly. And when he opens the door, they're all fighting and they're at odds with each other. But once they see Harry, they all quick pivot to everyone just drinking tea and smiling and being happy. The Weasley kids and Hermione arrive. Arthur then shows the newspaper to Harry of him being caught using magic and shows him the warrant, so he's got to go in for the trial. And something that's so fun about the way they do the Daily Prophet is they have the pictures, obviously, but then instead of words, it's just different lengths of Lego bricks. So just your standard rectangular 1 brick tall, however many bricks wide bricks just throughout the newspaper. And gosh, the attention to detail and the Lego jokes they throw in like this are just so funny.
Yeah, they definitely are.
So then you go into the Ministry. When you are Arthur, his side ability is that he has a wrench and he can fix stuff. So you have to fix things in the Ministry in order to progress, which is it's just great. They do a really good job of giving all the characters little side things. Early on, Ron has Pigwidgeon and Hermione's got Crookshanks, and I like that Arthur has a wrench.
Because why not? I mean, can't the man get a day off?
You're right.
Honestly.
He deserves some.
I also like, too, kind of the cut scene just before they go down into the Ministry. I mean, this is not necessarily something that even needed to be done by Telltale Games, but the fact that you just get the exterior and you see kind of just the streets of London and then you're taken to the booth itself.
Right.
Again, a little bit extra.
Right. Yeah, it does does more than just show them in the next place where the thing happens. It really makes you feel like you're watching the movie or really going along with the story. And if you are familiar with the story, you appreciate the attention to detail, and it doesn't feel jumpy. Everything just feels smooth, and they do a nice job of interspersing levels with cutscenes and never really feeling like they fast forwarded through the story, even though they cut out a lot of stuff, especially in the book 5 game, because that book's super long and you have to, but it still really feels like they check all of the boxes.
Yeah.
So it's very impressive. They did a really solid job of keeping what needed to be kept, but cutting things that were not as important and merging things together when it made sense to do so. So Dumbledore rushes in during the trial with evidence, and much to the dismay of Umbridge, who looks much younger, at least in the hat. Later on, she looks a little bit more Umbridge-y, but at first I didn't think it was Umbridge, but afterwards you can very much tell it's her when she's the only person that votes guilty for Harry. But when Dumbledore tells Fudge that Voldemort is back, Fudge freaks out, says nuh-uh, and covers his entire face in his big hat, which is a very fun look. And then, yeah, everyone votes in favor of Harry except for Umbridge, and that is how the trial scene ends.
Yeah, I like how there's not really an Arabella fig here.
No.
Just Dumbledore taking out the paper and showing everybody, actually, look, there were Dementors, and Harry did use a Patronus, and that's my defense, and you guys are going to have to let him go. But one other thing that I thought was really funny prior to them going into the courtroom was to kind of, you normally expect like a pep talk from somebody like Arthur, but Arthur just kisses Harry on the cheek twice and kind of like saying, okay, good luck, boy. Yeah. It's really a comic moment.
Yep, it's great. So yeah, go, you got this. It's very fun. And yeah, just making it Dumbledore, not Fig, is a great way of making it go quicker and just not having to make 201 characters.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I'm guessing she's probably still playable in some capacity somewhere in those 200 characters. But yeah, the fact that you didn't necessarily need her for this particular moment was probably a good call.
They've made so many. If you can save one, I guess you got to do it. Hey, Editing Mike here, just jumping in real quick. Mrs. Fig is a playable character in the game. Anyway, back to the podcast. And I also appreciated that when you beat this level and you get the trophy, at least on PlayStation, the name of the trophy is Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. So that's another nod where making the titles funny things from the books or small references from the books, even though it's not truly in the game because there's no words being spoken, you still get that nice nod, even though they can't make that joke in Lego because it would be all mumbling. When you beat it and you get that trophy, I still laughed out loud when it said new achievement unlocked. Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. I laughed out loud. It was great. So many little fun things they throw into the game. Mm-hmm. So when you get to Hogwarts, movie thing, going along with the films, everyone is switched from Lego robes to Lego sweater vest combos, keeping in line with the costume department of the film franchise. And they absolutely nail the Umbridge hem scene where she interrupts to give her speech. And of course, they ramp it up to 11 where everybody except for Hermione falls asleep. Everybody, including Dumbledore in the Great Hall, falls asleep. And it was just really funny and really well done. And again, you don't need words, but they convey the exact emotion of how Umbridge is and how everyone feels about her. And it's very well done.
Totally agree. I thought it was funny how Ron is just kind of sleeping on Hermione and she brushes him off. Because think about it, if we were in that situation, that's exactly how we would probably have responded to that speech. We would have been just kind of snoozing out on the side.
Oh, yeah. I was very bad about sleeping in class. In my mechanical engineering stuff at Rice, I was voted at this year-end party thing. My superlative that I got, I was voted most likely to fall asleep in class. So I did not have a good track record. I would have certainly been Ron Weasley. So you have a class later on where you have to make a Lego paper airplane to throw at Malfoy, which is fantastic. She then puts a stop to this and sticks you with the textbooks, and rather than have the kids on it, it just has a cat playing with a ball of yarn. So I guess a 2-for-1 punch of letting you know that she's a cat lady, but also that she's giving you some sort of incorrect textbook for what you need.
Exactly.
What I noticed here that's very different, Eric and I in a previous episode complained about the Lego hair for the women characters just kind of all looking the same and not looking really nice. They really upped it in the graphics department here, and maybe this was a advancement in Legos at the time, because I know now Lego hair is very well done, or maybe it was a video game thing or both, but Hermione's hair looks so much better here. It looks more accurate. In the cutscenes, their hair actually moves, so you can see this with Hermione and Ginny. Later on, there's some more complicated hairstyles like Bellatrix, and her hair looks absolutely fantastic and just like the movie. They really stepped up the longer hair graphics and feel in the gameplay and in the cutscenes, and it's really nice. It sucks you in more in the cutscenes.
Yeah, I almost wondered, to your point, if there was some sort of enhancement that was developed in between 1 to 4 and 5 to 7 that allowed them to do that.
I think there was some movement in the hair in the first game, but not to this level, and it's really, really well done. So Harry tries to protest Umbridge when she gives out the textbooks, but she uses magic to kind of clonk him in the head, very slapstick style, where he immediately turns into a smile and just flops down, which is very fun. And what happens in the game, which is actually really interesting, when you get out of Defense Against the Dark Arts class, a little notification pops up to let you know that you can't use as many spells because Umbridge has banned Defense Against the Dark Arts. So from a gameplay perspective, she actually alters the game and you can't do as much magic, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, just playing into the storyline really, really well there and letting her actually have control of what's going on in that particular year is consistent with what we've been talking about, right? With staying true really to the books and to the movies in this case as well.
Definitely. So at this point, I noticed, because I am playing the remastered game, and I guess it gave me some downloadable content that wasn't standard. I looked it up, but instead of your just main spell slot, you can also switch it out to a rotating cast of spells that all do the same thing, but also have a little funny bonus. So I found the DLC description, and I will read it here. It says, quote, "Like to quack yourself up? Then the new DLC pack of 5 comedy spells for LEGO Harry Potter years 5 through 7 is for you. It includes Ducklifors, turn a minifigure into a Lego duck; Densogio, which causes a minifigure's teeth to grow; Mellowfors, which turns a minifigure's head into a pumpkin; Tentaclifors, which elongates a minifigure's head into a tentacle; and Cantus, which makes a minifigure sing a catchy tune. But be prepared. While some people totally deserve to be turned into pumpkin heads, not everyone who bursts into song should quit their day job. You have been warned." I also think one of the ones they added, I don't know if they replaced the tentacle one or if I just kept avoiding the spell called Tentaclifors on purpose on my end, but I think there's also one that gives everybody the classic Groucho Marx big glasses, big nose, and mustache combo, which was really fun. But yeah, I had a great time turning Ron and Hermione into ducks, and then you can switch into them, and then you are Duck, and it says Duck for your character name, and you just hop along for 5 seconds, and then you turn back into your character. Super fun. Big fan of comedy spells.
I don't remember that, but that's probably because I played this really early on. Mm-hmm. It's definitely something I think I would like to do, though, now that you talked about it.
It's very silly, and it's a good time, and I appreciated it when my spells were limited by Umbridge. I could still turn everyone into a duck, which made me very happy.
You found a purpose for it. I love it.
Yes, lightening my mood after being sad about what happened in class.
Yeah.
The best way to cope with school-related sadness is turn everything into a duck.
Yeah, makes life so much simpler and entertaining.
So next you're outside Hagrid's hut, and Harry sees a flying thestral, but Ron and Hermione don't, and it's actually a really cool way to express this scene. And immediately after, you and Luna, who does look very different, I didn't recognize her at first, you have the thestral scene where you have to feed a thestral in a level, and then she puts on her Lego lion head for no good reason, and I realized there's no Quidditch in the entire second game, which is so nice. Big fan. Love that. So I'm glad they just found a non-sequitur way to throw the Lego lion head in there, even though the true reason that she puts it on is never explored in the story.
That's a really good point. I also love how the thestral throws the apple back at Harry and hits him on the head. Random comedy thrown in there for you. The other cool thing is that I know you mentioned no Quidditch, but you could obviously ride a broomstick in years 1 to 4. One of the new kind of things you can ride in 5 to 7 is a thestral. So I found that to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's super cool. So Harry then talks to Fireplace Sirius, and Sirius tells Harry to start Dumbledore's army. And then Ron and Hermione come over and agree. Ron puts a graduation cap on Harry to signify that he is a teacher now. And then you immediately assemble the team in the Hogshead. Cho is head over heels swooning for Harry already. She even growls at Ginny. So they've kind of fast-tracked some of the relationship stuff, especially because Cho is not in year 4 at all. But I think it's done very effectively where they get the point across. At the Dumbledore's Armory training, you have the duel scene, and Harry just looks like an absolute boss as he's shooting off all the spells at the practice figurines, and Ginny then winks at Harry at the end, so also kind of fast-tracking her affections for Harry. Harry blushes, and Lego blush looks very interesting. It almost didn't look like blush, it just kind of looks like big beauty marks on his cheeks, but, you know, what are you going to do? There's only so much you can do with a Lego face, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you could do the double kiss like Arthur did maybe to signify, but that might be too soon. You know, at least Arthur and Harry know each other pretty well at this point. Harry and Cho, maybe not so much. So, you know, you got to slow play it.
True. Yeah, but speaking of kisses, Cho then just plants a big fat one on Harry by making mistletoe appear. And, you know, this seems better than the whole crying thing, but she was looking at a picture of Cedric, so I guess that sadness element is still there, but she isn't sad at all. So it was a bit confusing of the context there. That context was a bit confusing, past Mike. I gotta hand it to you. And you know what other context would be confusing if I didn't jump in? If we just played ads willy-nilly out of the blue. So since I've already set up this glorious transition, let's cut over to Wingardium Leviosa. Today's episode of Potterless is brought to you by Skillshare. Let's say hypothetically that you are the creators of Lego Harry Potter, and before you made the game, you just wanted to jumpstart your creativity to even get the idea to make this game in the first place. Where could you have fostered that creativity? You could have done so with Skillshare. Every single human was born to create, and whether that is something you want to do for your job or just for fun or large scale or small scale, Skillshare can be here for you. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers membership with meaning. There is so much to explore. There are real projects that you can create, and you have the support of fellow creatives. Skillshare will empower you to accomplish real growth. Skillshare has classes in a wide range of topics, from illustration to photography, even to time management and productivity. And if you're trying to just kickstart your creativity, you don't really know where to begin, there's a new course that you could check out. It's called Find Your Style: 5 Exercises to Unlock Your Creative Identity. So if you want to do something but you're not sure what you want to do, they even have courses for that. So you can explore your creativity at Skillshare.com/Potterless and get a 1-month free trial of a premium membership. Again, that URL is Skillshare.com/Potterless, and you'll get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare Premium. So head on over to Skillshare.com/Potterless, get that free trial, and start exploring the creativity that would even give you the idea of Lego Harry Potter today. Today's episode of Potterless is also brought to you by Cornbread Hemp. Let's say hypothetically that you are Lego Harry Potter, and you are dealing with the Lego torso, head, and leg separation of your dear friend Cedric Diggory. You want to just calm down and be able to take it easy at the end of the night and sleep soundly. What could you use? You could use CBD from Cornbread Hemp. Cornbread Hemp is a CBD company based in Kentucky, and their products are flower only, full spectrum, which means no seeds or stems. They are USDA organic, and most products are vegan friendly, including CBD oils and their gummies. It's family owned and it's crowdfunded, and Kelly and I have used the CBD lotion from Cornbread Hemp, and we really like it. Kelly can get some rough headaches from time to time, and she's used CBD in the past to help deal with those headaches, and the lotion is really nice because she can just rub it right on her forehead, and if she's trying to go to sleep, she is able to fall asleep quickly and soundly and not have as much pain in her head. All of their products are grown and made in Kentucky, and they are certified by independent labs with reports published on their website. So you can go to cornbreadhemp.com to check out what they've got to say about their products. And if you go to cornbreadhemp.com and use the code Potterless, you will get 25% off your order. So again, that URL is cornbreadhemp.com, and you can use the promo code Potterless to get 25% off your order. So head on over to cornbreadhemp.com, use that promo code Potterless, and save 25% on various CBD products that can help you chill out and reduce the anxiety that you have about the situation that happened to your good friend Cedric Diggory today. And finally, today's episode of Potterless is brought to you by Tab for a Cause. I'm just going to get right to it. If you want to try to help out the world in some way and you want to do it in a very simple way, you should use Tab for a Cause. It is a browser extension that lets you raise money for charity while just using the internet. It's the easiest way to do it. It's fantastic. You just go to tabforacause.org/Potterless, so tabforacause.org/Potterless, and add the extension to your browser. It takes just a couple of clicks, and every time you open a tab, you get a picture of a nice background with the time, and you can customize some widgets in there to make it a functional homepage. You'll see see some ads in the corner, but those ads are what raise the money. You get a heart every time you open a new tab, and then you can take those hearts and pick what charities you want the money raised to go towards. They have a couple charities that you can always give to. They do certain timely charities when there are certain situations that are arising, and if you want to just try to help fight some of the bad that is in the world in a very simple way, you can go to tab4acause.org/Potterless, get it set up on your browser, and start raising money for charity in a very, very easy way today. Then you have Harry with the snake dream, and it does give a little bit more away where there's a point where you can see very clearly the reflection of the snake in the hallway, and instead of the snake attacking Arthur, Arthur's eyes just go googly and he faints, which is a nice way to not have to have a snake just, poking holes in Arthur in a kid's game, and I think it's pretty well done.
Yeah, I guess maybe they could have tried shattering him into a couple of pieces. That might have worked, but to your point, it is a kid's game and you want to keep it as PG as possible.
Right. So then you have the scene of Harry explaining to Dumbledore and McGonagall what's going on. When Dumbledore turns to portrait Lego Phineas Nigellus, he leaves to help, which is very fun as a big Phineas Nigellus fan that I am. And there's no sort of hospital scenes. They cut all of that out, which I feel vindicated towards, because when I was covering those for Potterless, I thought these scenes don't need to be here. But, I know there's nice things you learn about it, but they just completely axe that. You move on to occlumency lessons with Snape. And I don't know how they did this so well, but whoever did the grunt-based voice acting for Snape perfectly captures Snape's anger, but also Alan Rickman vibes. It's just grunts, but it's done so well. And I can't explain it other than saying that it's perfect.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
When he breaks into Harry's mind, it literally is a wall made out of Lego bricks that break open, and that's just a really nice effect. Then after this occlumency lesson, you move on to Charms class, and Flitwick teaches you a very interesting spell thing, how you can cut a shape out of some sort of Lego brick wall and then basically turn whatever you have cut into a thing. Just a really fun way to kind of put you in charge of making some of the things, because throughout the game you'll have a pile of bricks and you just kind of hold circle and turn it into whatever you need. But with this extra element to it, you get to create the thing that you need. And I just think that's nice, where you have a little more agency in making stuff necessary to either complete a level or get a bonus thing or save someone in peril, that kind of stuff. I think it's really nice. I think it's fun that they didn't just run the same game back. They really added new spells and new features, and I thought this was a really cool touch.
It is, and I love how he kind of jumps up there and cuts the dog out of that wall of Legos, and then it kind of runs around the room for you. And yeah, Flitwick, he looks, very professorial with that mustache, I must say.
It's a good look. So then you get a very wholesome Christmas at Grimmauld Place, and the squad goes into a room that has Sirius in it. Ron gets smacked in the face by Creature with a frying pan. Fantastic.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Doesn't really accomplish much except letting you know that Creature's kind of rude to the squad. Sure, we'll take it. Sirius then shows Harry the family tree and the order photo, and then you cut from Bellatrix on the family tree to Bellatrix escaping from Azkaban, and the first thing I notice is her hair just looks great. And that is challenging hair. Big, bushy, wild, curly hair is very hard to convey in terms of Lego pieces, but they do such a fantastic job of it. I was very impressed. Harry then teaches the Dumbledore's army Expecto Patronum. Umbridge then breaks in with Draco, who kind of has Marietta almost like by the collar, just kind of throws her into frame like, haha, look what I've got. And then, of course, our good-looking version of Filch comes too. And I did notice, I don't know if I talked about this with the Eric episodes, but in these Lego games, they have a good-looking Filch where his hair is really nice and his beard makes him look kind of suave. But they must have made a later Lego edition of Filch where I've never seen this on a Lego before, but you can put a little dome type thing on the top of his head to show that he is balding, which I think is a really interesting Lego innovation. I had never seen balding Lego hair before that wasn't just drawn onto the head, and props to Lego. They're doing great stuff.
Sure, yeah. You made me think of Voldemort there too. Like, but I guess he's not technically balding. He is just straight up bald.
Right. And it's just a really nice drawing for the face. But yeah, the new Lego piece is actually something you place on top of Filch's head because it's got the hair that goes beyond too, because his hair is kind of longer past his ears and stuff. And I want to take this time to say that people have pointed out that I have been saying Legos as plural for Lego, which is not technically correct. This is an America thing versus other country thing, but apparently, according to Lego, which is wild, you're not even supposed to say Lego as the plural of Legos. Lego is an adjective, so you're supposed to say Lego bricks, Lego sets, Lego minifigs, which is wild. I will not be taking the time to say that. I also will not be saying Lego as plural just because it's not how I grew up learning it. It's not how people that I interact with say about it, and I don't want to sound like a cop. So I'm going to say Legos.
Does that mean we need to restart the episode over and properly pronounce Lego?
Only if the 6 people who complained about this, if those people want to pay me for the hours spent to redo all of it and fix all of it and edit all in me saying Lego plural, then sure, but I will charge you $5,000 an hour because really? Like, and I don't know, maybe this is a thing where if you're in another country, it's like nails on the chalkboard to hear, but I don't know. One of the Reddit users, Job, who is one of our moderators, pointed out that it's the same thing as how technically Velcro should be called hook and loop, but everyone calls it Velcro. And also, if someone calls a tissue a Kleenex, you're not going to say, actually, there's some linguistics term for it where, yes, you're not technically correct, but everyone knows what you're saying. Like if someone says fewer in a place where they're supposed to say less, you don't point that out. But when you host a podcast, that happens. Sorry for all the people who are annoyed by this, but I've been saying Legos plural for 25 years, and I cannot break this habit.
Yeah, I mean, if that's all they took out of the episode, I'm slightly concerned.
Yeah, everyone's got their things. I get it, but also I don't get it. So you have the Dumbledore meeting with Umbridge, and he tries to do the clap escape thing, but he fails to do so because Fawkes doesn't swoop in. He kind of has to to get him to come through, which is great.
You know, Fawkes is busy.
Yeah, he's got bird stuff to do. So the entire squad then goes into the Forbidden Forest with Hagrid to meet Grop, and Lego Grop is just very silly looking, but also great, and just a wonderfully charming Grop Lego rendition. He tries to play the trumpet for Hermione, and Ron and Harry in the level, you have to play music for Grop so that he can put Hermione down, but then you still get that same great Hermione put me down scene.
The other thing I really liked about it is the centaurs. When you first see them, they have kind of like this badass look to them. Like you've been talking a lot about hair, and like the hair is just done like,
oh yeah,
these guys are cool.
They look like they got ripped out of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Lego game because their hair is just intense.
Exactly.
So you've got another occlumency lesson. Harry does the spell to break into Snape's mind, and you get a cool sepia flashback level going through Snape's memory. And rather than have the upside down torture thing, basically, that James does to Snape, instead, James just does a spell that makes Snape's pants disappear. And I think this is a huge improvement. It felt so much less cruel to have his pants just kind of disappear as opposed to having Snape helplessly dangle upside down and have his robes reveal his underwear. It just felt more kid-like, and I appreciated that.
Agreed. Yeah, it's just another one of those comedic moments.
Mm-hmm. So after this, you have the Fred and George firework level, and you get to play as Fred and George preparing for your big exit, which is just so great, super fun. They're also just so funny as the Legos because they keep shushing each other and then laughing at it, imitating Umbridge, who told them to shush, which is just great. And then the fireworks cutscene escape is also really fun. And right after this happens, when you're watching the two of them fly away, Harry's scar starts to hurt, and you have the Voldemort Sirius thing. And of course, when you try to flee to the Ministry, you get caught by Umbridge. But then you do the fake out with the DA letter to say, oh no, we've got the weapon that Hermione talks about. So then you go into the forest. and the centaurs begin to attack Umbridge, and she goes full Matrix to dodge all of the arrows and stuff, which is really fun. How acrobatic Lego Umbridge is.
Who would have thought?
Right, yeah, very athletic work from her. Hermione and Harry then use the power of a Lego Segway type deal to get Grop, and then when you have the Grop getting rid of Umbridge scene, he just punts Umbridge to the centaurs, and then she lands on a centaur back and they ride off, which a very, very creative, silly, hijink based Lego way to do it, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, I actually just chuckled watching that scene where he literally, as you said, punts her, he kicks her.
Yeah, it's intense. So the squad plus Neville, Ginny, and Luna then meet up, and Harry has another Scar vision, so Luna suggests that they all fly on the Thestrals. As you say, you get to fly on Thestrals, which is pretty cool. I love a good bony pony, so the fact that you get to fly on one in the game is super fun. The Ministry scene is much more simplified. You get right into the prophecy room. Neville has already become post-puberty Matt Lewis, where he's looking suave, and when you get to the prophecy itself, Harry's just has his Lego face on it. So you just get right to the prophecy ball and it's there. And the way that they do the prophecy is so fun. And they do a really solid job of conveying it, but also making it funny. So basically you have Lego Voldemort and Lego Harry, and their hearts pop out of their Lego chests and they kind of meld into one heart. And this is nice because hearts are a measure of life in these Lego games. Usually have 4 hearts, and you can lose them in duels and fight scene type levels, and you fail the level if you lose all your hearts. So to utilize something from the game in order to show plot, I thought was really creative.
Definitely.
So the hearts pop out and then the two of them kind of fight over the same heart. And then whoever is holding the heart looks normal, but whoever is not holding the heart kind of fades, Marty McFly's sibling style from Back to the Future. And you just kind of do that back and forth. And that is the way that they show only one can live and the other must die, which I thought was really well done.
That level of creativity where they're just trying their best to explain it without using words. And to your point, it's very, very well done.
Yeah. So Lucius and Bellatrix come in, and I don't know what joke they were trying to go for here, or maybe it was just the surprise that Bellatrix is back, but she's just kind of hiding behind I don't know if it was a scarecrow or some sort of knocked out person. I didn't know if this was like a particular reference that was going over my head. Did anything like this happen in the actual story, or is it just supposed to be a way to show Bellatrix is here too and it's surprising? I was very confused.
Yeah. When I'm thinking back to the movie in particular, I remember how she really kind of has that back and forth with Neville. I'm not exactly sure what that was supposed to represent.
Yeah, I was confused, but I don't know. She's here. It's a surprise. It was still funny. I just didn't know if there was some sort of particular joke or reference that just whooshed over my head. But